Hi guys, I'm back with a new video with in the Spring framework with IOC container and with dependency injection. In my last video, we have done some introduction about the Spring framework. So now we are going to discuss about the Spring framework, IOC container and dependency injection, which is the most important thing in the Spring framework. Uh, it's you can say it's a feature of a Spring framework that it has a IOC container, and one of the main important thing is a dependency injection. So let us discuss today what do you mean by the IOC container, what is the types of IOC container, and we will look to the dependency injections also and the types of dependency injection. And today we are going to do some examples also for the Spring framework. Okay, so let us start with the IOC container. What is the IOC container in a Spring framework? IOC container is what exactly it is, a inverse of control. Okay, what we called it as an inverse of control. What does it mean, guys? Inverse of control means to say, let us take an example. Okay, just I will show you what exactly is the meaning of IOC control. So let us assume that in our previous, like in a Java, we used to create the classes. Okay, say like we have a class person, we have class address, we have class friend. So what was our responsibility in the Java? It was our responsibility, or we can say a developer's responsibility, that they need to create the object for that particular classes. Okay, so let us assume I have a person class. It was my responsibility, it was a developer's responsibility that they need to create the object by their own. Okay, they have to manage this, they have to create the object by their own for address class, for any of the classes. So I have to I took the example for a just like a person, address and friend. So we have three classes here. So just we can get the we have three classes, and for the three classes we created the object. It was our previous, like the things which we was doing. Okay, now what is the IOC container? It is inverse of control, which means now we are not responsible for creating the object. What we are going to do is the Spring container is going to help us to provide our the object. The Spring container is going to create the object for us. The Spring container is going to manage the object for us. So there is a Spring container, just like you have used a web container, like a web server. You have a Tomcat container, which is going to create the object for your servlet. Same here, we have a container, Spring container, which is going to create the object for our classes. So like we have a person class, we have an address class, we have a friend class. So we are telling to the Spring container, please create the object for us. Okay, the Spring container is going to create the object for us. Now it's not our responsibility to create the object. This is what exactly the IOC container. When we are now not engaged in creation of the object, the container, the Spring container is responsible now for managing. Say like we don't want to do this job, we hire one person. Okay, so do this job for us. Who is the person who is going to do this job for us? The container is there, who is going to do this job for us. So container is going to create the job, the object for us, and it's going to manage. Whenever we require, we will tell to the container to give us that object and we will use it. So this is what exactly your IOC container. So that's what we have written over here. The IOC container is what exactly now this is not my responsibility. I don't have to create the object. Only the container is going to do it. This is what exactly your IOC container. Now we have two types of IOC containers. Okay, so one is your bean factory, another one is what exactly the application context. First, we will look at the bean factory. What is the bean factory? Bean factory is like a factory design pattern. When the user is giving the input or a client is giving the input, based on that input, it is going to return me the object. Let us assume that I gave the class name person, it is going to give me back the person object. Okay, so same here is going to do that one. So now I have the another type of the IOC container, that is the application context, and this application context is what exactly it is we can say is top of the factory design factory pattern. Bean factory is the one which we are initially we was using the bean factory. Nowadays we are working on an application context because it is all the features which bean factory is having, the application context is on top of that, so it's having some extra functionalities. So that's why we are using the application bean factory to create the object. So that what does it mean actually? We have now, as I told you, we are taking a third party to create our like to do the work. Okay, same here is a container which is going to do our work. Now container itself is having a two ways to create the object. One, it can tell to the bean factory to create the object, or one, we can tell to the application context to create the object. Okay, so let us do one thing. Just give me a second so that yes, so what is there? So container is there. Okay, so if I'm a user, I'm telling to create the object. Select, I have a class called as a person. So what I will do is I will tell to this container, please create the object for me. The container is going to create the object for me. Okay, so it will create the object for my class. So this is the class. Okay, and it is going to create the object for that particular class. When I want to retrieve it, I will. But this container, the Spring container, is going to use two ways. One, either it is going to use a bean factory. Okay, either it is going to use a bean factory way, or it can use the application context. So there are the two ways, application context. So one, either it can go with the bean factory, or it can use another container which is the application context. So it will tell either the bean factory to create the object, or it will tell to the application. Now who is going to tell that? We will see by example. If I am going to create, these are bean factory and application context, both are interfaces. So these two are the interfaces. So if I am going to initialize the reference of the bean factory or the application context, so if I create the reference of a bean factory, so it will go and create the object by using this container. If I use the application context and I initialize that, it is going to create the object by that way. But now there is a two more differences which we can see later on. We have some of the things which we have to see about a bean factory and the application context. Before that, we will do a one example, and after doing that example, you might will get the idea what I want to say. So this is all about your IOC container. Now what IOC container is going to provide us? This IOC container is helping us to do the dependency injection. Okay, the another concept is what exactly? Dependency injection. What is this dependency injection? Okay, let's go back to this diagram. Okay, I will go over here. Okay, so let us say, what do you mean by the dependency injection? IOC container is going to create the object based on the dependency pattern. Dependency pattern is a design pattern which is telling to the IOC container how it is going to create the object and for which object, because it's a dependent object. So we just like we have a one class over here. Let us assume I have a class called as a person. Okay, and this person is having what exactly? This person might be having some name. Okay, so that means the person is dependent on this dependency. Okay, so same like the person is dependent on, say like we have the address. So the dependency is on the address, and this address is not now a primitive, it is a one another class. Okay, which is what exactly? Address is a one another class. Okay, here. So that means this person object is dependent on this class. So this class is address class. So when our any object is dependent on the other classes, that is the dependency. So my person is dependent on this class. So this is what exactly the dependency. So by using this dependency, by using the dependency injection, or by using this pattern, this technique, it is going to tell to the IOC container how the container needs to create the object and how it is going to inject that object into that particular class. Okay, so now there are the different ways of a dependency injection. So let us go back to here. If you can see, the class is there. If I have an address as a dependent object, I have the another dependent object as a list of friends. So that means if you can see in this class, I have a dependency on the name, I have a dependency on the address, I have a dependency on the friend. So friends can be multiple. Okay, a person can have multiple friends. That's why I took it as in the collection format. And it can be dependent on the address. This is the address object. So it should have some address. The person is always having an address, so it's dependent on that particular object. And it is dependent on the name. The person should have the name. So this is what exactly we have a dependency. But now if I'm saying this is the dependency over here, so how many types of dependencies we have? If let us create it back again the class, and I will just let you know. So if my class, okay, person is there, okay, which is dependent on the name, okay, it's the name. So this is a primitive, okay, so it's the primitive type. Okay, and if I will say it is dependent on the address, this is the object dependency. Okay, and if I can say there is the list of the friends, just like I took a list of friends. So what is this? This is the collection dependency. So that means we have different ways of injecting the dependencies. So but as we know, we have two types of dependency. One is what exactly setter injection, another one is called as a constructor injection. So I can inject these dependencies. Okay, I can inject these dependencies based on either a setter injection or a constructor injection. But if you can see, this class is having the dependency on the primitive type, or it can have a dependency onto the object, or it can have the dependency on the object, but it is the type of a collection. So let us see one by one how we can inject this primitive dependency, how we can inject the object, and how we can inject the collection of a dependence object. Okay, let us see one example. First, we will take a look to the primitive dependency, how we can inject it by using a setter and by using the constructor, because we have two types of a dependency. One is the setter injection, another one is the constructor injection. So we will see first of all that thing, and then we are going to look up the how we can inject the object, and then we can see how we can inject the collection object. Let us take a look to the example first. Okay, I am using here the STSC tool for the Spring application. Okay, you can use Eclipse. Okay, that's okay for you, but I am using the STSC is better because I have all the plugins of the Spring. I'm going to create a Maven project. Okay, might be if you know the Maven project, it's good. If you don't know how to create a Maven project, let me write into the, you can write it into the comments so that I can add a new video about a Maven, how to create a Maven projects. Okay, and how it is going to help you for the dependencies. I will give you the another video for the Maven if you require that. Okay, so this is what exactly we have to create a Maven project. I'm just creating a Maven project. Okay, so here I need to provide the package name. Okay, a group ID is the package name, so I'm going to provide here the package name. Okay, and then I'm gonna to give the class name. Okay, I'm gonna just say here Spring Dependency Injection. Okay, so this is my the project, which is Spring Dependency Injection. If you can see, this is the structure of your Maven project, and you will get a POM file here. So first of all, what we need to do is we have to create our dependencies inside the POM file. So let us go over here and create the dependencies. Okay, so this is a Spring project, but this is a standalone application in the Spring project. While creating a dependencies, we are going to create a standalone application. So for a standalone application, what all the dependencies you need? Okay, let me tell you what all the dependencies I'm going to use over here. First of all, there are the different ways. You can either go to the Maven repository to get the dependencies, okay, or you can click on here, and if you have already created the project, you might will get the dependencies over here. So let me say the Spring. I have the org dot. Okay, it's not showing me any dependencies over here. Okay, let us do one thing. We'll go and go to the Maven dependencies over here. We have the Maven repository. Okay, I can say the Spring dependencies like the Maven, so it will directly give you the path. Okay, Maven repository. We'll go over here and copy the dependency for them. Okay, you need to check which version you are going to use. Let's assume I'm going to take a 5.1, okay, or any version. I'm using this version, so I will copy this one and I will put it here. So which is the first dependency which I took over here is the core dependency. My first dependency is the core. Second, what I need for the standalone application is I will check for the bean, Spring Bean. Okay, you can get all the dependencies from your central repository. Okay, we have already, we can go to the bean. Okay, again you have to one thing, yeah, you might will notice the one thing, I am just selecting the same version of the dependencies. It's mandatory, whatever the dependency or whatever the version of the dependency you took for the Spring framework, for this all for the same package like org.spring framework is there. So if you took a 5.0.1 release, please take the same version for all other dependencies which is having the same package name. Okay, so it should not be a different dependency for every time. You can have the same dependency for each like a class, but if it is belonging to the same package, take the same version of a dependency. So I will take another dependency which is the context which I require. I will go over here and say the context. Okay, so this is my the dependency which I need. I will go back over here and say this one. Okay, I will take the context one. Correct. Now I have the dependencies over here. I have the context dependency, bean dependency, and the core dependency, which I require for my standalone application. Once I did it, save it. Okay, you will get this dependency, Maven dependency folder over here. If you can see, whatever the dependencies I took the core, I took the bean and the context. Automatically, it has downloaded the JCL and the AOP and the expressions. Okay, so this is what you have to provide the dependencies. It is going to be automatically saved and automatically download from this central repository. Once this has been done, you will check here, it's a 1.5. Okay, my compiler should be 1.8 because if we are using a Spring 5, so it needs a Java 8. So I will first go and change this JDK here. Okay, I will check the library. I will just remove this one. Add library. Add the JRE. Next, environment. I will take here. Okay, I got now the JRE. That's okay for me. Okay, this is my the dependency which is done. Now what is the thing which you need to do over here is you have to create a class. Okay, what is the name of my class? We'll take a package dot java. Okay, I have the class say person. I'm taking the person class, okay, where I have the first thing which I can say is the string name. Okay, this is my the variable. Okay, I will take the string first name, and let us take another variable here. Say like her email. Okay, so the person is having the name and the email. Okay, now what we need to do is we have to generate. First we will do a setter injection. So I need all the setter methods, getter and setter methods. So generate here all the getter and setter method for the both variables. So I got a getter and setter method. I will also do what exactly? I will generate a toString method. So I generated a toString method. So you have the way, shortcut way, go source and generate the setter and getter, or you can right click on your this one. You have again the source and you can generate the getter and setter. It will generate the getter and setter methods for you. Once you will get after the toString method. So this is done with my class. Now I will save this one. Okay. What I need to do is the second step. You have to create a configuration file. Okay, because whenever you are going to do a dependency injection, we are not going to create the object by ourselves. Let me just go one thing. We will create a one class first. Okay, and I can say this is my application class. Okay, and I have the main method over here because this is a standalone application. Okay, I'm not going to create the object like this way, because already I told you we don't have to create the object in this way, because who is going to do that for us? The container. If I will do it by myself, again what is going to be done? It is not going to be a it's going to be dependent. It's a hard-coded value I'm going to give over here. I don't want to do that. What we need to do is, we don't have to do this way. We have to create a XML file. Okay, I will go over here, say the next, and create a Spring Bean configuration file. Okay, if you are not able to get it, you can create a simple XML file and then use that. So Spring Bean configuration file, or you can go to the others, select the Spring folder, you will get that file also, Spring, and then you can get the Spring Bean configuration file. So I will select that file and give the name for my file. Select, I give a bean.xml over here, or you can give any name. It's not mandatory bean. You can give spring.xml. You can give any name over here. So I give any name to this file and just say next. What is the thing which I need to do over here is, I have to select here the bean. I will tell you why I need that. I need to select, right now I require a bean only, but yes, I will select the context and I will select this bean and cache. Okay, so next I will say next and say finish it. So if you can see, whatever the things I selected, I select the bean over there, I select the cache over there, I select the context over there. So all the three things which I selected there, it is going to download these packages for us, and it's importing this. What we are going to do now, if I don't have this bean tag, I don't have this class over here, I am not able to create this bean tag. So to use that beans, I need to give this here. I need to give this bean tag over here, and in this bean tag I have to just use these links, which is going to help me to give me the permission to create the bean tags. Okay, so now what is this bean tag? What I need to do is, instead of creating by the object by the developer or by the user, who is going to do? Container. How the container is going to create the object for you? We need to tell to the container that this is the ID this is the class. These are the attributes which bean is going to have. What will be the class? The class is your person. Here, select it, go to here, copy qualified name, go to the XML file and write down it here. This is my class. Okay, I'm telling to the bean, create the object for my class. What is my class? The bean class. So bean is this person. I need to create the object for that bean. So I'm giving this bean tag inside this XML file. Once this XML file is going to be read by the container will read this file. The container get the idea what all the beans we have provided over here. It will create the object for that particular bean. So which is my bean? The person. It will create the object for that particular bean. Okay. Now, as I told you, I have to provide the injections either by the setter or by the getter. So what do you mean by the setter injection and what do you mean by the constructor injection, not the getter? Sorry. We have a setter and the constructor. So setter injection we are going to do now, and then we can do with the constructor injection. So for setter injection, what is in my this person class? I have two properties over here. One is the name, another one is the email. To use a setter injection, we need to provide a property tag over here. What we need to provide here? We need to provide a property tag over here. So in this property tag, we need to go to the class and see what is my properties over here on which my class is dependent. My class is dependent on the name. My class is dependent on the email. So I need to inject these dependencies from this XML file. Okay, so I'm telling to this XML file, please provide these dependencies. So I am having the first property is name. Okay, another property is what exactly? My another property is email. Okay, now here I am going to provide the value for this. Okay, I'm going to provide the value for the name. Say like this is the name, Bhavna, and I am having the value for the email. Say we have. Okay, so this is my the email. I provided the values for this particular object, for particular bean. The bean is having the two properties. One property is the name property. Another property is the email property. The value for this property is Bhavna. The value which I have given for this property is name. So, which means we don't have to give, we don't have to create the object here. Okay, if what does it mean? We don't have to create ourselves the object like a person p is equal to new. We don't have to do that, and we don't have to write ourselves that the value, or in the constructor we can say p dot set or something. We don't have to do this. What we need to do is we can directly go over here in the XML file. We will provide this value. Okay, so when I will provide this value into the XML file, how the container knows this, we have given the bean tag or the bean ID or the bean name inside this configuration file. So what I need to do is in the application class, I have to create the object for what exactly? For my container. Okay, so I have two containers, bean factory and the application. As I told you, we are using an application context, okay, which is on top of the bean factory. So I'm going to say application. Okay, application context is equal to new class, if I'm not wrong, class path XML application context is the class. Okay, so this is the class where I need to provide what exactly I have to provide here, the spring.xml file name. So that means now which container I am using? I am initializing my application context container I'm telling to the Spring Container, use this container to create the object for the bean which I have defined in this XML file. Correct? So now the container will read this file, it will go to this file, it will find the bean ID is the person and the class is the person class, which is the bean class. It will go and create the object for that particular bean and initialize the particular properties, and the container will manage the whole life cycle for initialization of the object, creation of the object, initialization of the property, and destroying. So everything is going to manage by the container now. So once it is going to do that, how we are going to tell now the container to give us that particular object if you want to print, if you want to use that object. So what we need to do is we will say the container that context dot, there is a method called as getBean method. Once I will call this getBean method, what will happen? We are telling to the container that this is the class which I am providing here. This is the object. Okay, please give me this object. So container, once I initialize, remember this thing, whenever the application context you are going to use, the application context at the time of initializing this container, okay, the container is going to read your XML file and it will create the object for all the beans which has been defined into your XML file. Say like you have 3-4 beans defined into your XML file. You might have an address class, you might have a friends class. So all the beans are defined in this XML file. Once you defined here application context, okay, what it is going to do? It is going to create your object for this particular, it will create the object for all the beans which you have defined in this XML file. Correct? So that means when I am initializing this line, when I am initializing this context, it is going to create the object for us. Okay. But then why I need this getBean method? This getBean method is using for what purpose? I am telling to the container, say like in my container, I have, this is the container, let us assume I have the container where I have 3 objects. I have the address object, I have the address object, I have the person object, I have the friends object. So I have 3 objects over here. One is the address, okay, one is the person, another is the friend one. So now how I will tell to the container which ID I require, which object I require. So I need to put it inside the getBean method. So whatever the object I will define over here, the container will give me that particular object. So it will return me this particular object. Okay, but what is the thing which is related to the application context? Once you are initializing this application context container, so it is going to create the object for all the beans which you have defined inside your the XML file. Okay, remember this thing because this will be giving us the help for defining the difference between your bean factory and the application factory. Okay, so this application is now going to create the object for this particular bean. So I'm telling to this, okay, give me the object for the person which is the object of your person class. I want to get it back. Okay, I can either write this way or then you have to typecast it, or I can say right here the person dot class. Okay, and what I need to do is here I have to say the person, this is what it will give me what type of the object it will return me. It will return me the object of the person class. Okay, so I'm just getting that object over here, or if you are very confusing you can say PR. Okay, this is the new reference variable for the person. So this is the person which I have defined inside this XML file. So this name and this name should be same, then and only then it will return you that particular object. Okay, once you get this object, now you can say this out. I can say this. Okay, that's why I took a toString method so that I can print this all. So this is a Java application. You can either say a run Java configuration and just run it. Okay, you got the person name is equal to Bhavna and the email. So this is how first thing what it did. First we initialize the container, which container we are going to use. We have used here the application context container. The container has created the bean object. Okay, which bean object? It took the spring.xml file. In the spring.xml file, it find what is the name of the bean. It will create the object for that particular bean for you. Once it created that object, if I want to use that, I can tell to the container, please return me the object of the particular class. What is the class? Person class. But how it is going to return me? I will provide the ID. Based on this ID, it is going to return me that particular object, which will be the object of your person class. Okay, and then I am going to print that one by using this statement. Okay, so this is what exactly the setter injection. How you are providing the setter injection over here? By using this property tag. Okay, so this was the setter injection. Sorry, I need to. Okay, so this is the setter injection. Now we are going to do the program with the constructor injection. Same program with the constructor injection. I will go to the person class. Okay, I will create here the constructor now. Okay, so what I will do is I will create here the constructor using fields. Okay, this is the constructor with the parameterized constructor, and I will create here the another constructor which I can say is without the fields. Okay, so this is the constructor which is the without field, and one is default constructor, one is the parameterized constructor. Okay, so now what I need to do is the same class is there, the same XML file I will use over here. But what I will do is just I will copy this one. Okay, and I will comment out this particular line because I don't right now I don't need to use a setter one. I just want to show you the constructor one first. Okay, I will remove these two properties here. When I need to do a constructor injection, I don't have to use a property tag. Okay, what I need to use at that time, I have to use a constructor argument. Okay, this is the tag which you have to provide while doing a constructor injection. So in this constructor injection, what you need to provide is here, what is the parameter you need to provide? We have to directly provide a value. Okay, and then say like the first one is the name, and second one was okay, the second one is the email. Okay, so I can provide here the email. Okay, for this one. Okay, if I save it now, I didn't change anything. I just, instead of a property file, I change it in the constructor argument. That means I'm telling to the container now, please inject these property by using the constructor injection. So these properties are now going to be injected by the constructor injection. How it is going to do? By using the constructor argument. So once it is going to be done, okay, I will go to this application class. Okay, I will just clean up first this output. Okay, now let me run it back. Okay, so if you see, I got the name is equal to Bhavna, email is equal to this. Is this I wrote an email with? Yeah, I did need to give the value over here. So that means it's working fine because it gave me the perfectly value over there. Okay, so if I run it now, I will get a particular value over here. So that means constructor injection and the your setter injection. What is the difference? For setter, we require a property tag. For constructor, we require a constructor argument. Now there is a one thing which I can say you. Let us assume in my person class, I have another variable, say like I have a private int age. Okay, and I need to now add this age over here, int age, and I will say this dot age is equal to age. I need to say everywhere I have to add now this. Okay, setter and getter I don't require now. Yes, I need to print it here. Okay, so okay, now let us go back and I will go to the spring.xml file. Here what I need to do is I have to add one more parameter here, and what I need to give for that, I have to give the age, say like a 45. Let us say like this. So now if I will run my application, okay, I got the age, I got the email, I got the name. But can you check this program again? The variable is here the name, then the email, then I put the age also. But age is again I put the age in the form of a string only. How can we guess that this is the string or this is a string? Because this is a, okay, I provide the name, that's okay. But if I have a multiple parameters into my class, and if I'm using a constructor injection, every time if you find, we need to put all the values into the double quotes. So that means this is a type of a string. So how can I tell to the, because if I have another variable, which can be like it's the age, I might have a phone number also, or might be I have some other information which is in the integer. So if I put the integer and integer over here, what will happen? Both will be in the form of a string only. So how can I judge that whether this is the variable which is an integer or not? Or let me just give you one another in like a thing. Instead of an email, let me take here the int, say like a phone. Okay, so here I can say int this is my the okay. Now I need to change this also. I should have to change it the other way. Okay, this is done anywhere. Okay, now I have to say here get phone and set phone. Okay, so yes, it needs to be a string, it needs to be the integer. Okay, now this is the phone. Okay, so this is the class. Ready? Now I will go to the XML file. So what is this? This is the person class. Now I don't have this email ID. I have to provide here the phone number. Say 123 is by the phone number. Okay, so this is the phone number. This is the age over here, and this is the variable. Now when I am going to do into this the constructor, the first is a string, second is the integer one, third is again the integer one. But if I provide here the values, I'm providing it in the text format. How can I know that this is the integer value or this is the string. Is this the data type for this variable is a string or an integer? So what we have over here is we have the type over here. So we need to define a type is equal to int. So whenever you have a variable which is not a string, then you have to define the type in case of the constructor. But in case of your the property file, we don't require. In case of the getter injection, setter injection, we don't have to provide any type. Why? Because we have the name of the property over here, so we can identify. Okay, this is a name, so it is in the form of a string because we can check in the class. But here, if we provide here the multiple values which is in the string, so we cannot identify, because if it's a constructor one. Okay, the problem will be always in the constructor, because if the first will be in the integer, second is the string, third is again the integer, fourth is again the string. So how can we identify whether the first parameter is the integer parameter or a string parameter? Okay, for the constructor. So that's why what we have over here is we can provide a type which can tell us that, okay, this is the variable which is a type of integer. Okay, this is the variable which is having the type as a integer. Correct? So this is in case of your the constructor, but it is not in case of your the normal, we can say the property, if it is a setter injection. Okay, so let us see again back. So we got the phone number instead of an email. So I think it's okay now for you guys to understand the setter injection and the constructor injection. It was a normal example. Now let us assume that in my class I have this address as an object. Okay, so what I am having now, my class is dependent, the person is dependent on the address, because without the address nobody is going to deliver any item or any parcel at your home. They want your address, so this person is dependent on the address. Okay, if anyone wants to come to your home also, they require your address. So this is a very much important for this person. So person is purely dependent on this object. So how can we do this dependency? Because it's a object dependency. Now we have to inject the object. So how can I inject this object? By using the setter and by using the constructor way. Let us see that. We'll go back. We'll have the class again. We have this person class. Okay, let me do one thing. I will remove this age and let me remove all this one. Okay, I will provide here the address so that we will get, I'm having this address over here. Okay, so now when I'm gonna to inject this one, so I need a class. So I will create a first address class over here. Okay, let us create the address class first. Okay, in this address class I have private string, select state. Okay, private, I'm going to take the string. Okay, we'll take a city. That's enough for us. Okay, so to understand that thing, city should be small. Okay, let us take the getter and setter. Okay, I will take both setter, getter and the constructor, so that next time we don't require to create again. I have the setters and I will generate the constructor using the field. Okay, and I will generate the constructor without the field. Okay, so let us see. So I will take this constructor here. Okay, I don't like the constructor in the bottom. Okay, so this is the default one. This is the default one, parameterized default, and now I require a toString method. Okay, so we'll go over here and generate over the toString method. Correct. So this is my toString method. Now I have the completely this address class. Okay, in the person class I have the address as an object over here. Okay, now what I need to do is, again I have to generate the getter and setter for this. Select all, generate. This is good way actually, otherwise we have to create a lot by ourselves. It's the generate the constructor. Let me make my cursor over here. I'm so bad, I don't like it at the bottom, so let us make my default constructor. Okay, so this is the default constructor, correct? So this is default, this is the parameterized constructor. Now what I have over here is I have the getter and setter. What is now required, I can just generate a toString method. Done. Okay, now we'll go and save this one. Now go to the XML file. Okay, let me just do one thing, comment out this one now for the time being. I don't require right now the constructor. Okay, so what I need is I want this setter injection back. Okay, I will just make the changes here in the setter injection. First I need to do a setter injection by using the object. I have the first property is what exactly? The name is the first property. So name is there, which is correct. Okay, email is not now with us. Okay, what we have is we have the second property is the object. What is that? It is the address. Okay, but this address is not a simple property. This address is not a simple one. This is what exactly, it's not a primitive one. What is that? It is an object. Okay, if I have an object over here, what I need to do is it's I require to create another bean first, because address itself is a one class. So what I need to do is I will create here the bean. Okay, where what I provide is id is equivalent to the address. Okay, and I will give the class for this. Copy, go to here, copy the qualified name, go back to here and just provide this name over here. So that means I am having the object over here. So if I am having the object over here, so how can I provide now this ID? Okay, because this is the address, which is not a primitive, it is an object. So how can I tell to the container that this variable is the reference of a class? Okay, so what I will do over here is I will provide here reference tag. So ref is equivalent to this address. Okay, so that means either what I can do is I will change this with the add. So that means you can differentiate that. Okay, I'm providing this address into the reference. So this is the reference. Okay, reference attribute I am using here. In this reference attribute, I am passing this ID over here. What it is going to do, this ID, this reference is what exactly this ID. Once it is going to this ID, what is there in this ID? This is the object of this particular class. So which means I am injecting the object of the address class into this address property. So what is the property over here is I have the address property. Got it my point? So this is how I am injecting the object into the property, into the class, by using the setter injection. As we know, the setter injection is using the property tag. So in the property tag, we have to take a ref attribute, and this ref attribute is going to take the ID of the other class which we want to inject over here. Okay, let us see whether it is going to work perfectly or not. Let us go to the application class, and okay, what another thing is there which I forget to provide, because this bean is also having the two properties. So we require to provide that two properties. One is the city and the state. I think let me check. Yes, state and the state. Okay, let me go over here. I will provide it the state, and the other property is city. Okay, so let us provide the value is equal to Okay, city is equivalent to, okay, so I just provide here the stay and state. Now we'll go to the application file and just execute this particular class. Okay, let us see. Yeah, I got a person name is equal to Bhavna. The address is having the state, which is the Maharashtra, city is the Mumbai. So I got a particular object injected by the property file. Let me again go back to here. First, what I did is I created a person class. Inside that person class, I injected the address. Okay, but I want to tell to the container, please inject this address. Okay, but how it is going to inject this address? By using your the setter injection. Okay, so in my address class I have the two properties also. So when I created this XML file, in this XML file first I created the bean tag of the person and then I created the bean tag of the address. So that means now I have a two beans over here. Okay, for the first bean I set the first property is a name, which is a primitive parameter, so it's easy to us to pass it. But the second property was not a primitive, it was a object. So what I need to do is I created the object of the address. Whatever the ID I was having for this address, I provided it inside the property, but I provided it into the ref attribute. Okay, so that means this address is now referencing to this add. This add is what exactly? This add is the ID of the particular class. That means it's the object of this particular class. So definitely it will call this particular object, and whatever the state of this object is, it is going to assign to this particular property. Okay, so that is what it is doing over here. It is just taking the property from the address and assigning to the person class. Correct. This is by the setter. Now what we need to do is we will do it by the constructor injection. Okay, let us go back. Okay, now what I will do is in the same file again I will comment out this. Okay, and save this one. And now what I'm gonna to do is I'm gonna to uncomment this one. Okay, so this is my the bean tag for this. Of course, I don't have the constructor with these things. I will just remove this constructor, which is a one extra parameter over here. I have another one which is not the type of an int, but yes, the next one is our, the value for this is address address. Okay, so but for here what we need to do is we have to provide here the ref if I'm not wrong, yes, and here I will provide, okay, sorry, this is the bean for this one. Okay, now I need to create another bean tag for your bean ID and the class. Okay, I'm going to provide here the edge, and let me take the complete copy of this one here. Okay, now I need to write here the constructor argument, and I need to give the value. Value is equal to DELHI. Okay, and sorry, value is equal to, okay, okay, this is my the value for this. Okay, and in this bean this ID I'm going to provide now to the reference tag of inside the constructor argument. Okay, I created a reference bean tag, and then this address is going to be provide, this ID of the address is going to provide over there. Okay, let us see now what is going to be happen over here. We'll save it. We'll go to the application dot this one and just execute this one. Run as Java application. Okay, so we got this address. So what I did over here is I just provided the constructor parameters over here. I provided the parameter over here. Okay, and then inside the constructor argument I provided here the reference bean tag, and this reference bean tag is what exactly? It is taking the reference of the other object, and this is called as your injection of the object. So here I am doing the injection of the object. Correct this thing. So this is the second way of injecting the object. So we have seen what exactly we have seen. First thing, which is a primitive type of a setter injection and the constructor injection. Now we have seen how we can inject the address, which is the object. So dependent object, how we can inject it. Now the third, what is there? We have the list of the friends. Okay, let us see how we can do that. Again, I will go back to the address class. Okay, and in this address class I will add now the friends. Okay, this is my the friend, and sorry, I have the private list of the friend. Okay, and I used here the friends. Okay, this is my the friends class. Let's take it, friends class. I need to import first this one. I need to create now the class because I don't have this class over here. So let me go and create a new class. This is my the friends class. I have multiple friends. Okay, now the friends class is there. Say I will just take a one parameter over here to name. Okay, I can say the friend name so that you can not. Okay, it's a friend name. So you, and in this class also I will again do one thing. I will generate the constructor without this during the constructor with field and setter and getter injection. Okay, so this is done. Yeah, and the toString method is important. Okay, let's go back. Now I have the toString method also here. What I need to do now in the person class, because I added this one, where I added the friends, I added, I think, inside the address class. Oh, my bad. I need to add it into the person class. Okay, so this is the person is having the address dependency, and it's having now the dependency under the friends object. Okay, so I need to generate the constructor for that. Okay, I will just remove this. I will say generate constructor using fields. Okay, so clever, do fast. Okay, remove this. Generate first the getter and setter for the friends, and we will go and say generate toString method. Okay, so great, we have now all done. We have the name parameter, we have the address parameter, we have the list of the friends. Now when I'm going to go to the Spring here, okay, let us take first because we have the constructor over here, we will do it by this way. So first is what we have, the bean. Second is the, again, if I'm going to write here the constructor argument, because I have the 3 parameters into the constructor now. I have the first parameter, which is the normal primitive. The second is the object. Okay, third is the list of the object. Okay, so first we used, normally we gave the value. Second, it was a bean where we have to inject the object, so we used a reference bean tag. Then third, I'm going to do the collection. So when I need to use a collection, how can I use a collection over here? I have to provide here again, we will provide here the list. Okay, inside the list we will use a reference bean is equal to, I will just close it here. Now what I need to do is, this is the address. I have to create a bean for my class is equal to the friend. Okay, so because address is already there, we don't have to touch to it, but yes, we need to create a friend class reference. So I'm going to create here the friend one. Okay, and I need to go to the class, take the qualified name for that, go here and paste it here. Okay, so now I'm creating the bean for the friend. But can you see what I am doing over here is, I am creating this bean tag. Okay, I will just close the bean over here so that I can provide the property. What is the property? The property is the name. So friend name is there. Okay, I think friend name, I will copy that property because I don't want to make a mistake in the spelling. Okay, and I'm going to write here the friend name. Okay, so here, and I'm going to provide a value is equal to 7. Okay, and I'm going to copy it. I have only one property. I want to copy it, the whole, and I want to create a 2 object. So this is the friend 2. Okay, I need a list of friends. This is the second friend. Say like I have another friend, Snita. So first friend and second friend. 2 friends are there. Okay, what I have here, first thing was, the first parameter was the primitive, so I gave the value. Second parameter, now you are very much okay because I provided here the ref tag, and this is how I did a constructor injection using object injection by using the constructor way. Now I am using a collections. Okay, so how could I use the collection of an object? I am using a constructor argument. Here I provide a list of the object because I am using a list class over there. So I use here the list, and inside this list I provide a ref bean. Okay, what I will do is I will provide the ref bean 2 times because I have 2 friends. I will provide a friend 1 here, and I will provide a friend 2 here. So that means list of friend means you can provide a multiple objects now. Okay, you can create the multiple object for the classes and then you can pass over here. Can you imagine, in this class we didn't did any change. We are always using this person. So how internally it is creating the object for all the beans even though we didn't provide the name for that. Here we are providing the name only to fetch the bean over. Okay, but who is going to create the object for all the beans? This application context is creating the object for all the bean while initializing it. Why? Because we have provided the configuration XML file, and this is the one good feature of this application context container while initializing, which makes it as a eager initializer. Application context is also called as eager initialization. Why? Because it's a eager initialization. Why? At the time of an initialization, it's going to read this XML file, whatever the beans is defining inside that. See how many beans are there. We have a person bean, we have an address bean, we have a friends bean. Okay, 2 times we have. So for friend bean, it is creating a friend 1 object, friend 2 object. That means 4 objects it's creating. So internally it is going to do all that thing. We don't have to do anything. We have to only just provide the configuration inside the XML file. So now what we did over here is, by using this constructor injection, my class was having 1 as a primitive, second was the as an object. So I provide here the object. It took the reference of this address class. Then I provide another constructor argument because I am using a constructor argument. So in the constructor argument, I provide this list. So this list is doing what exactly? this list was taking the two references of the friend1 and friend2. So friend1 and friend2 is the object of here the property class. Got it my point? So the friend class. So let us say let us save it for, okay, already I have saved it. Let us run it now. We will check whether it is properly working or not. Let's see. Name Bhavna, address is equal to this, friends is equal to Anil, and friends is equal to Snita. So that means it's perfectly working, okay, and it's calling these all objects internally. Okay, so this is what exactly we did it by the constructor. Now if I need to do it by the property file, the same thing we have to apply. Instead of this constructor argument, what we need to do is we have to use a property. Okay, let us see how we can do this. I will just comment out this one now. Okay, and now I am gonna to use this particular thing for you guys. Okay, let me, okay, sorry, I need to comment out this particular thing. Okay, now this is the class. I have the address. This is correct. Address is there. Now what I need to do is I have to provide a property. One more property. And in this property, this is the friends. Okay. So I have here the friends. Okay. What I will do inside this property before closing it, I will provide here the list. Okay, and same I will do here also. Ref bean. Okay, and what is the bean? I can provide here 2 beans. Copy and paste. Okay, now just a minute. I will copy this, paste it here. Okay, and this is my another object. Okay, so I have a friend1, friend2, friend this one, friend2. Okay, so here I can provide this friend1. Here I can provide this friend2. Only the difference is in the property we need to provide this name. In the constructor we are not providing. Let me just uncomment this also. It will print me the 2 times, so no problem. At least you will get the idea how the both will do. Okay, so but the only thing is that I need to change this object because 2 times this object will be there, so definitely it will give me the issue. For that I will provide here. Okay, let me for execution I will just put a comment on this, and after then I can uncomment it for you guys. Okay, so first I will execute, otherwise I need to change lots of places the object. Okay, I will just check it whether it's perfectly working for us. Yeah, it's working fine. Okay, so that means giving me all the details. Now let us go back to this one again one more time. We will repeat, we will just go through the whole flow, and then I will stop to this video here only, and next video we will just remove this reference tag by the auto wiring, and we will do the auto wire. Okay, so what we was having, the person was dependent on the name, address and the friend, but the friend is the type of a list of the object. So we have learned first how we can provide this primitive dependency by using a setter and getter. Then we find how we can inject the object by using a reference, ref tag and ref b. Third, we have the collection here. So how we did it? We just went to this program. Here we use a property and the constructor, setter injection and the constructor injection. When I was using a property, the property name, and in the property we have to provide here the reference. Okay, and if I'm gonna to use the constructor, in the constructor we was using the reference bean instead of providing the ref tag. Okay, we was providing the ref bean tag, and for construction we are using the constructor argument, and here we are using the property. Okay, for the collection we are here also using the list and the reference being inside the property tag. Here inside the constructor argument tag, okay, we are using the list and this one. So for injection of the collection, that's same. Only the difference is that in the constructor argument, we don't have to provide the property name. It will, because it's in the constructor already we have the property name defined over here. So we have already defined the list of a friend. So we don't need to define the friends over there. We have to directly pass the value for that. And how we are going to pass the value? Because it's a list of objects, we need to use a list and the reference. Okay, so I think you are now very much okay with the setter injection, with the constructor injection, injection by object injection, and then the last one we did the collection injection. So this is the dependency injection and IOC container. Now in next video definitely we will see how the application context and the bean factory is different. Okay, that one thing we have to learn, and we will go with the auto wiring. So what is the auto wiring and how we can avoid using these reference tag? Okay, so that is important. So subscribe my channel guys, like and share my channel so that I can again give you more videos and upload the new videos. Whatever you want, just comment out the videos, so that if you want anything else for if you want again a more concepts for the spring, I can just upload the videos. But just do like and share it guys. Thanks for watching me. Thanks a lot guys.